On the cold night of November 15th, 1966, two young couples would encounter a bizarre creature. Driving in a black '57 Chevy Bel Air, couples drove through an area around midnight when one of the women noticed, unbelievably, two large glowing red eyes in the darkness beside the old North power plant and screamed. They soon learned that these eyes belonged to something that looked frankly human, about 7 feet tall with wings folded against its back. The driver stalled in the road for a minute, inspecting the strange creature. The four realizing immediately that their spectacle was no ordinary bird. The true horror began, however, when the creature spread its wings and pursued them, driving down Highway 62 to the Point Pleasant city limits, exceeding speed limits of 100 miles per hour. And here is when the story of the legend begins. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing essentially well, because it is Friday. So, hooray for that! And I can definitely feel, and I definitely agree that I'm definitely glad it is Friday for me too. It's always good to be Friday. But if you haven't realized already, if that beginning of that story doesn't sound familiar to you or anything, we are talking about probably, I would say, one of the top five most popular, well-known cryptids in the United States. Maybe arguably the world, but at least in the United States, we're talking about the West Virginia Point Pleasant Mothman. This one has always been a very interesting story of what's true, what's false, like so many questions around this one, and it's always very interesting to see the just seeing how it all just plays out and how it all happened and what people experienced and what people experience even to this day, and the true terror that this creature brought upon this little town in West Virginia during this all starting in 1966. But before we go any further, I'd like to read the remaining of the original encounter. Okay. After the four arrived in town, startled and confused, and with no sign of the mysterious bird that had chased them, the driver parked his car at the edge of town, and they discussed their encounter, eventually deciding that they saw was nothing more than a bird. In an attempt to face their fears, they again drove towards the TNT area, which is a well-known hotspot for it. It wasn't long before they saw the creature again, apparently waiting on them beside Route 62. The couples now realized that their stalker was no bird, but in the instant that the car's headlights landed on the creature, it lifted vertically into the air with tremendous speed and disappeared above the tree line. It was one of the first accounts, the big story of Mothman that really sparked the country. It just spread from wildfire from there. That this is the one that got there. Now there was actually a sighting of the Mothman before this act, before the supposedly like the driving one, because a lot of people have always said that we're always told, or hello, okay, were that this was like the first sighting. This is the one that really started it off. Sure, this is the one that probably got the attention of everyone, but there actually was a sighting. Just actually a few. Let's see, actually 3 days before this one happened, because the driving one happened on November 15th, but the first real known recorded sighting of Mothman was actually on November 12th. So yeah, 3 days before that. Quote, 5 men were in a cemetery preparing a grave for a burial when they saw something they couldn't explain. Lifting off from a nearby tree, what trees was a brown winged creature. The men held to the fact that what they saw lifted off beyond the trees was no bird; it was humanoid. Go at you. And so, kind of showing that there was a lot more to there's a lot more to the story than there was something a little bit before this, but this was the one that got everyone with the story. Hold on a second. Sorry, just making sure that my everything is okay microphone wise. That doesn't sound a little bit. No, but the thing's recording, so I think we're good. Tap 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 tap. Okay, so I think we're good. We're good. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this started, and then ever since then there have been recitings of the Mothman around Point Pleasant and other parts of West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, even apparently some stories saying of like the other nearby states of the Virginias, maybe even some in Pennsylvania and Maryland. But the original story all started with here. It all started in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and has been the hotbed of stories about it, speculation, and everything along those lines. Now the other so there's a gosh, where do we begin? Well, okay, let's start off with this. If this is your first time hearing about the Mothman, it's like, oh, what is the Mothman? Well, let me tell you, Mothman has been seen to reported to look like a variety of different looks, going from a black to gray to even a brown color. But the things that have always been the most what would you say? The most common thing in all reports is the two piercing red eyes. If you've ever seen any sort of artwork or t-shirt or anything involving Mothman, the two things that always sets it apart, that always you're looking at Mothman, is you're looking at the eyes. Those red eyes that just give it a dead giveaway that you're looking at Mothman. The creature is also around 7 feet tall, with a 10 to 15-foot wingspan. So a pretty big creature, and very very intimidating to say the least. I would not sure how I would feel if if I'd seen something like that, especially back in the day, without the knowledge of what it could be and everything like that. Because in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, because of all this, they also have a Mothman statue, which for the longest time was on my bucket list to see. And up until about a few years ago, I actually, was finally able to be in the presence of the Mothman statue, which was fantastic. It was, again, that was one thing knocked off my bucket list, and I hope to go back there again because it's. It's a pretty cool statue. Yeah, sure. There's a lot of pictures. You can look up the pictures of the Mothman statue and everything, but there's just something about seeing it in person and just getting just wondering of like, man, is this what people are really seeing? Like it's crazy. It's mind boggling. So, a quick little story, real quick. When I was there, the statue is in between two roads on like a little concrete little island with buildings on the side. So it's not a very big area, but the statue's there. And there's windows on the side and everything like that. And I noticed out the corner of my eye, there's someone in one of the little open windows put one of those fake Men in Black mannequins up there, looking down at the area of the statue, and also trying to like be a little silly and freak people out. And I looked up, I was like, jeez. I even looked at the corner of my eye just to make sure. It's like I looked again. It's like, oh, that is a freaking mannequin. That is not real. So I'm like, whoever did that is clever as hell, but you're a jerk. Just letting you know that. But nonetheless, very cool. It's a very. If you ever get a chance to go through West Virginia, I would go take a stop through Point Pleasant and see the statue for yourself. And if you're also able to go to the Mothman Museum, because when I was at the statue, it was at night. But if you're able to go and see it, and go and see it yourself, and try to go to the museum, because apparently I heard the museum is very, very interesting because there's a lot more to the Mothman story than just that the initial sighting, which we will get into. So, but okay, so yeah, so there's other descriptions of Mothman are, it has like that very generic big humanoid shape with the big wings and the piercing red eyes. Now, there are some stories that people depicted as not really having like a head, but kind of just like a body, okay, imagine a rectangle, a rectangle going vertically. It's got wings, it's got little legs, and in the top parts of on the inside of the rectangle, you've got like piercing red eyes. That's also another very if a lot of depictions of Mothman in like media and other things like that have always depicted it more like to look like that. So, but most commonly though has always been the very humanoid shape of of almost like most of the sightings. So okay, yeah, that's the more agreed upon of look of it, but very very cool nonetheless. The whew, the other interesting thing about the creature itself is that those eyes, the red piercing eyes that it has, is more than just these pretty little eyes that just scare the crap out of you and anything like that. Supposedly there's not many, but some of the stories behind the legend of Mothman is actually more of that its eyes have like a weird hypnotic power to maybe sometimes like control people or make people pass out or to make people feel very sick. Now, not many people have mentioned that, but a lot of there are some reports of people who have experienced it by looking at the eyes and then having all of these weird symptoms having to it and everything like that. Now, could Mothman truly have some crazy powers like this? Sure, it is. Well, who knows? But part of it, I also would probably not be surprised if it also did have like a had more like a like just out of pure fear, out of seeing something that just shouldn't be possible, and with your brain not being able to comprehend what it's looking at, panics and probably does all this stuff to your body that makes you sick and everything. So that is definitely a possibility because again, we will not know for sure if anything, if there really is more behind this than just it's a scary looking thing that scares the crap out of you and you start feeling all these symptoms, or it has some sort of weird crazy powers with it. Who knows? We probably really won't know for sure, but the speculation is still there nonetheless. Excuse me. So so now let's continue on with after these sightings of Mothman started to happen and everyone started to it started people started seeing it more, people started to panic, everyone was scared to go out at night because apparently with it sometimes importantly like attacking people or scaring the daylights out of people. Unfortunately, there are stories from then even till now of some oh, right. Of some like pets going missing. There was one story of someone who lived around who lived in West Virginia, and unfortunately his dog went missing, and there was no trace of the dog like at all. But apparently the dog was found like like I forget what it was. It was either like it was like a state over or like two counties over. It was a very far distance away, way longer. Like it was from like a few days for this dog to be found. It was found dead on the side of the road. Not knowing how it got there, speculation was that the creature picked it up and then just flew over there and dropped it off there for some who knows what reason or anything like that. An unfortunate end, but unfortunately within the world of of cryptids and this craziness in the world we live in right now, unfortunately, pets do, apparently do become victims of some of these cryptids, and it is our job. It is our jobs as owners, humans, and just lovers of nature and animal to protect our pets and protect the animals that we hold dear. So if you live in an area where there is something that could be possibly, like attack your pet or anything like that, if you're able to bring it inside and keep that animal safe. But if for some reason it's outside and you hear that thing being attacked, you go marching out there, guns ablazing, fists flying, anything you can go hitting, and you defend your pet with your life because you know that your pet would do the same thing for you. And pets are probably one of the best things in this world that we have. So there's my little message to all of you: protect your family, because pets are family. Protect them. Like, if I was in a situation like this, I would protect any pet or dog with my life. But getting a little sidetracked. So yeah, so unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, there's not many stories of it attacking people or people being fatally killed by the creature. So after these, sightings and reports started happening, some besides the visitors for that we got from the Mothman itself, other visitors started coming to Point Pleasant. Started coming to Point Pleasant as the Men in Black. Now I'm not talking about the fun characters from the Men in Black movies, with Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones. Nah, love those movies, but not what we're talking about. Apparently, the Men in Black are a real thing that who knows what they really are, but these men in like coats and sunglasses and hats just started popping up all over the place. Some they most of the time they kept to themselves, but for some of the people who did see them or people who had seen it, they would kind of come up to them, talk to them about it, try to get some information from them about the creature. And some of the times they were just asked a few questions and they were gone. They just walked and then they walked away. But a lot of times they would just be standing on corners, just looking around. They just happen to just be like, you look around a corner and boom, there's one. And they were always they gave people a very weird and strange vibe of these men who just came out of nowhere asking questions about it. Very, very mysterious, which is and drive around in their black cars and just stare at people and just being very, very strange. And besides them having to deal with Mothman, they now have to deal with these weird these strange Men in Black guys, scaring them as well for their presence being there. And it didn't seem like they were being very helpful. It seemed like they were more just trying to get information from the people who had seen it, and I think in some cases even told people like, "Oh, you saw this? Well, shh." Quiet, don't try telling anyone else more if they haven't said anything, like don't tell any people at all or anything like that. And of course, people who have continued to see the creature, even just for any kind of, even just a lot of cryptids, people who have seen these creatures a lot of times are like these very strong men, mountain men, outdoorsmen, men who are not afraid of anything. And yet when they see these creatures, sometimes scares the living daylights out of them, to where they act like sniveling girls, and a fear in them that they didn't even know was even possible, that they didn't even know was there, was all of a sudden making them quiver in their boots and go in the complete 360 of how their normal demeanor is. Stories of Mothman are no different. With the one male driver of the car during the incident was terrified. He's not, he's a hard guy to scare, but that night when he saw the Mothman, his fight or flight response kicked in, and it told him to flight. And then of course just sightings of the creature just continue up until this day. And some very interesting sightings of it even being in, like mentioned before, not in normal, West Virginia areas, but in all the outlying states even farther. There apparently is a picture of it. Now, I can't tell from the picture if it's in somewhere in New York or anything. Oh, well, you know what? Let's I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself. We have to rewind a bit back more to the Besides the actual Mothman sightings itself, there was actually much more important event that actually happened there that not many people talk about. That's like the biggest thing that involved the Mothman legend besides the initial counter itself, and that is the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The Silver Bridge was what connected the Point Pleasant, West Virginia, over to Ohio, which was the state right. Wait, no, wait, yeah, wait, yeah, that is northwest, west, east, yeah, okay, yeah, and stories of this creature. The bridge was built in 1928 and has been like a crowning point for West Virginia for a very long time. Let's see. But you know what? I'm gonna read this real quick. On December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed amid a heavy rush hour traffic, resulting in the deaths of 46 people, two whom were never found. An investigation of the wreck soon point to a failure of a single eye bar in one of the suspension chains as a primary cause. A finding noted a preliminary report released of within 10 months of the collapse. However, to explain why the eye bar failed, a failure triggered by blah 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 blah. So more or less something failed amongst the bridge and the bridge collapsed and everything like that. But there's a bit more to it than there is more to the story than just that. Around the time it was just before the bridge collapsed, reports of seeing the Mothman flying under the bridge moments before the bridge collapsed. And after it flew under there, and then everything, once it flew around, the bridge then collapsed. People then point to it as it being a harbinger of doom. It flew under there and caused the bridge collapse, killing all those people. But is that truly the case? Some people have cited that Mothman may not be as aggressive, or he might be a bit more misunderstood. I don't have much about it, but I have bleh. In my many years of research, watching documentaries and movies and everything. One suggestion that people have is that Mothman is actually more of a not more so a harbinger of doom or the one that caused it, but was more of like a messenger of a warning people to stay off the bridge because it knew the bridge was going to collapse. But obviously, people didn't obviously thought of it one way. If that's even the case, but it's hard to say. There might be a bit more to suggest that, because we're gonna go forward back into we're gonna go forward a little bit. We'll come back. Don't worry. We go forward a little bit to around the time that 9/11 happened. Now, I have a picture that I don't know if it was in New York or in West Virginia during it or anything like that, but supposedly after so it was during the catastrophe of 9/11 that there was a picture of a Mothman-like creature taken. Now, the picture is very interesting. It clearly does show what looked like a winged-like creature, humanoid, with the kind of, I know Superman kind of flies with his arms forward, but imagine Superman is flying and he has his arms going down his side, and then the wings. That's a picture of this creature right here. And and then so that's another thing. Is like, does it always appear when there's doom, or did it try to warn people? But obviously, nothing came of it or anything like that. But definitely interesting nonetheless, because I think there might be also a few other times, but these are like the two main things that a lot of time when people think of Mothman and its encounter with tremendous catastrophes, is that it always seems to be around during it, before or after it. showing, like of whenever something like that happens, and ergo people think it's like when they see it that it was the one that causes it. So as a kind of again, who knows for sure? It could be just complete coincidence or anything like that. But it's something being blamed for something that it actually had no way of doing. Is I'll actually give you a quick little history lesson real quick. So in Asia, the other part of the world, all the way over there, um, they have catfish species up there, and there was a legend that catfish were actually the ones that started earthquakes, because they would just be, just been a nice calm day, they would see these catfish start like freaking out, just shaking around and everything, and then moments after they started freaking out, an earthquake would start. And then people then started thinking, "Oh my gosh, these catfish are causing these earthquakes." And no, that's not really the case. If you don't know, catfish have these like weird like little like tendrils, whiskers, kind of like things that feel the ground. Because a lot of the times they feed in very muddy, murky water where they can't see anything. So they use their little tendril to try to find their prey and everything. And since they they use them and can feel vibrations in the ground, they feel the vibration of the earthquakes coming moments before your actual earthquake starts. So people would think like fish starts freaking out equals earthquake. It causes earthquake. No, it just fortunately it just senses it, and then when it reacts, the earthquake then happens. So it's kind of like a thing of like something that you feel is causing it, but in reality, it actually has nothing to do with it. It is just a side effect or just a coincidence of it. And Mothman could be the same case with this. Is it truly, truly? Could it really have done all this, or tried to help, or something? We will never know. We're gonna learn. We will find out more about other cryptids before we ever truly ever know what really is going on with Mothman. If this is the same one or there's multiple, who knows? I mean, I'm just saying words because, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no sightings of there being more than one Mothman or anything like that. It's always seemed to be, most of the time, always been one. But interesting thought nonetheless. So the other interesting thing about Mothman is one of the first sightings of it was in this area called the TNT area. But this has always been always like the hotbed in Point Pleasant around there. All right, so quote. I'm just gonna read a little article thing here real quick. West Virginia Ordnance works in an abandoned munitions depot to the north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, that dates back to World War II. The facility during its operation manufactured ammunition and dynamite, ergo the area calling the TNT area. There it is. The surrounding area is mostly forest, dotted with numerous grassy clearings and thick concrete domes called igloos that were used to store barrels of gunpowder. The area is also riddled with abandoned tunnels, most of which have collapsed, been sealed off, or have become flooded with water. A wildlife sanctuary, McClintic Wildlife Management, now encompasses the area. So this area, was used during World War II for, everything that I just mentioned, but this is also where stories of it have also kind of come to mind, and then also where all like the theories for it is, like since yeah, sure, they say that it was used for making ammunition and dynamite and explosives and everything, but who's to say, especially if it had all these tunnels, that there wasn't other rooms, that they weren't doing more down there than just what they said on the surface. So this starts one of the theories that Mothman is supposedly an experiment that was created by the government in the area. Excuse me, probably as a weapon. They're trying to make it as a weapon to help them in the war and everything like that. And you'd be surprised how often cryptids, the stories of cryptids being used as created or used as weapons for the military. Some that have been used, some that never, as far as people are aware, never got the chance. Ergo, like Mothman. But like those other ones, we'll get into those another time if you want to hear possible like, with theories of cryptids that not many people are aware of or anything like that. And so the stories of of it being around the TNT area have has been around for the start. Now, another interesting thing about it is that some people believe that Mothman may not actually be a physical creature itself. Some people believe that there actually is a bit more of a spiritual side to it. Now, they apparently there are a lot of these TNT areas are supposedly haunted. I've seen some things on there that show that all right, there might be something going on. Now, why people suggest that it's Mothman is just because of the nature of it. The If it truly does have these hypnotic, crazy-eyed powers, that there might be a bit more behind. That might explain how it's possibly able to do that instead of anything about more like rationally or something along those lines. So they pretty much try to just have one they've got this thing going on, and then they try to figure out it's like, oh, okay, well, let's go. It can do that because of this, or this, and one of this is just happens to be the whole theory of it that it is actually more of a spiritual thing. Now, and also seem to how it can also seem to vanish. Sure, most of the sightings of Mothman happen at night, and it can fly, and supposedly it's very fast when it flies. So it kind of shows that and people think like, oh, it just flew away and it like disappears. Like, well, yeah, if this creature is an all black creature and it can fly, and it's at night, sure, it can fly up in one quick moment and vanish like it just. And then just go off in the air and disappear, making it seem like it just vanished in the thin air, like if it was a ghost. And that's just one of the theories behind it of why people think like, okay, maybe it's a ghost. It's excuse me, out of water. And it's just one of those things that people try to, whenever they see something that they don't explain, they try to rationalize it in some way that even if it doesn't fully make sense in general, that makes sense to them on what they are seeing because obviously there can't possibly be a physical creature like that does what this thing does, but who knows? There's a lot of really crazy stuff in the woods, and we here have only touched the surface. There's a lot of things I've read and heard about of creatures that you wouldn't even consider them as just like a normal cryptid. That's like everyone's heard of Nessie, Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster. Oh, wait, I said that, Nessie, Loch Ness monster, Mothman, Dogman, other things like that. People have heard about these things. There's some stories of some stuff that doesn't sound like any normal cryptid that I've ever heard about, and it just boggles the mind of like, we think we have a grasp on the unknown, but there's unknowns in the unknowns in the unknowns that we don't even know about or even could even comprehend. And oh boy, I really hope that excuse me. I really hope some of the stuff we do figure out at some point. And it's a matter of just time. I'm hoping I'm around for when we do. Another possible theory is, especially when it comes to these really strange humanoid creatures, is that they are extraterrestrial. So, an alien or something along those lines. Now, why that alien would be here, it's hard, like if it truly is an alien, like why there? I mean, who knows? I mean, I can't even speculate. There could be so many reasons, so many unknown reasons, or reasons we couldn't even comprehend if this was truly the case of what the Mothman is. It's kind of like an interesting thing of like why people. Now besides there being like the few sightings of Mothman, there are the occasional sightings like UFO and stuff like that. So again, one of those causality kind of things. You have UFO plus Mothman equals alien. One of those things that kind of just adds together in a way. So we're actually gonna take it to another, like, we're step back from this just for a moment, and kind of using that to go when they talk about people, trying to explain Bigfoot. Some people speculate that Bigfoot is an alien, and there are some people who said they've seen a Bigfoot in front of them, and then above them have seen possibly some sort of like UFO, like high in the sky and anything like that. Some people say that they have even seen Bigfoot stepping out of a UFO, of a beam of a UFO, or out of a ship, or something along those lines, and they fly off. Ergo, speculating that people thinking that, okay, again, causality kind of thing. UFO, Bigfoot steps out of it, equals alien. Now, I personally believe that Bigfoot is not an alien. It's a very interesting theory, and we won't know until we, or unfortunately, until we get a hold of a corpse, unfortunately. But that could be possible. But I think of it as, aliens, there are alien abductions of people, and, they do experiments or whatever. Who's to say that the aliens are not as curious about Bigfoot as we are about it? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these things are the aliens abduct Bigfoot, and, they're like, oh, what's this hairy thing? I don't know, let's go find out. They beam it up and then do all the stuff, and then all these accounts of people seeing it coming from a UFO ship. Excuse me, if the UFO then flies away, yeah, okay, then it's like, honestly, I bet that some of these Bigfoot get abducted themselves. I wouldn't be surprised. They're a very interesting creature, and I bet the aliens are just as curious about them as we are. Ergo, so that's just one of these things that people think that Mothman, Bigfoot, Lizardman, Dogman, a bunch of other things are aliens because they do things that are not possible, and they're just not physically possible for any normal human to doing, or even just like the comprehension of it just doesn't even make sense. Which I think there's a lot more in this world that we can't comprehend, but I believe is true. Like, I do believe that there probably are a lot more to these stories of people seeing these creatures doing these crazy things, or things that, like, no, the fossil records don't say that it can be possible, and then but it's right here in front of us. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, magic or something else in this world is like, I wouldn't say behind all this, but is like the fuel, or where a lot of this stuff comes from. And honestly, I think that's pretty neat. And I hope that we do get at some point we do get a better idea about this. Okay, hold on. I gotta adjust my feet. Come on, legs. Oh, okay, that's a little better. Sorry, I had to adjust my little sitting position a little bit. So, all right, so now let's go to some of the more logical theories for Mothman. Now, I personally believe that Mothman is real. There's too much people have seen, and all the stories behind it, especially with the original car sighting, that it just can't be ignored as something as like all these people just imagine this. Like, so, but I think there are, like many cryptids, I do believe that there are some logical explanations for some of the sightings and some misidentifications. Not saying people are lying, but people, I've in some certain cases, if they're being scared or not sure what they're looking at, or familiarize themselves with wildlife and everything, might have seen an owl. Some of these the depictions of Mothman seem to be like, that generic shape of like a dark creature with wings, piercing eyes, and legs. Some of these descriptions do make it seem like it is possibly, reports of people maybe misidentifying an owl. Now, hold on a second. We are going to go to our lovely little friend Google real quick. Hello, Google. Habitat. Here we go. And one of the species that might be misidentified for some of the sightings, not all of them, some of them, is the great horned owl. I believe it's one of the bigger owl species, and most common in North America. And I'm looking at a little picture of it now. This bird is everywhere. It's even in a lot of parts in South America. It's pretty interesting. I actually didn't know that the bird can go all the way to South America. But anywho, so this creature has, can be seen, and in some of these depictions might have been accidentally misidentified as the creature. Maybe in certain circumstances, if you're seeing this big-eyed, scary creature in the night, and you're not prepared for it, you could be a little scared and think like, Mothman, sure. Again, I'm not saying these are all the cases. Possibly some, just because of some of the depictions that people have had. Now, for the ones that people said that they saw a very humanoid-like figure with wings and everything like that, yeah, that is not an owl. You can't misidentify an owl for an owl that looks humanoid, because it needs to have like the arms, but owls have very impressive wings, but they don't have arms, legs, and wings. They don't have that. So I believe there's a lot more validity. I don't know. I think I might just make them validity. Yeah, there it is. Validity behind some of these accounts when they see something more humanoid. Now, again, could some of these things still be misidentified for something else, like fear or something like that? Sure. But I know I'm a broken record for this, but when many people are seeing something very similar, and even some people who have never met each other or anything like that, all describe seeing the very same creature in very similar ways, there obviously has to be a lot more behind it than just saying like, oh yeah, that's not true, lies, lies, lies. Like, no. But I think there has to definitely be something about a lot more behind these stories than giving credit to. Let's see. Another possible theory is that there is the sandhill crane. It's a pretty interesting, big-looking bird. Let me click this picture real quick. Come on. Not loading. Okay. It's a very interesting looking bird that could also possibly be sandhill crane. Aha! There it is. It's a pretty interesting bird. It's a big crane species. Height. Okay. The height of the bird is around between like 3 to 4 feet tall. So okay, and it seems like it has pretty impressive wings, and it's apparently got red feathers around its eyes. So maybe misidentified as some like the red eye shine from it. But I don't really think that, because again, people sometimes tell stories of the arms. But a lot of times, especially at night, you see a creature that you're not used to, or just a big old flapping arm creature, you'll be like, well, I'm out of here. See ya. And then, you just peace out of there. But it's very interesting that even till today, there are still stories, of Mothman that still come up. And I'm glad that there are still stories, though, because there are some cryptids that have stories of it that happened once or for a very limited time, and then all of a sudden reports of it just stop. There's nothing. It's like the creature was there for a little bit or for one moment and was just never seen again. Was it some misidentified as something else, or did it die, or many other possible questions or that could be possibly before that. Now there are a few cryptids that come to mind that I won't mention here, because I have an idea for a episode that I literally just thought of right now that I think would actually be a good idea for a future episode. So 1 second. Cryptids. There we go. All right, I've written down a future idea for an episode. Sorry, I sometimes I have to do these when I think about it, because if I don't, I will forget. And I know there have been some ideas I've had, and I didn't have my notebook with me at the time, and I have forgotten about some of these ideas or thoughts I had before, and I'm like, if only I had remembered beforehand. Now, okay, let me read this little thing real quick of why people think it is a hoax. There has yet to be any credible physical or photographic evidence that truly support the existence of Mothman. But there are a few photos that have been mistaken for Mothman, such as a photo of a bridge taken from 2003, which turned out to just be a piece of metal tilting and falling off. And I've seen this picture. This picture is very cool and very interesting. The first time I saw it, there also have been some photoshopped images, mostly done at art, that people have done. Like now, they're showing this picture right here. I can clearly tell that this is, Photoshop and not real. But the first one that I saw, that apparently, it's on like the side of a bridge, kind of looks like Batman a little bit in a way. Does look very Mothman like, and I like to believe that this one is real, but I don't know. There's so many things when it comes to cryptozoology and everything, especially when we start talking about these more extravagant cryptids like Mothman and Dogman to a point, and Lizardman and other cryptids. Some cryptids we haven't gone to yet that are just seem so extraordinary. That's like, how can it's like, how can these things be real? And yet there are people say that one of the biggest conspiracy theories for a lot of these cryptids is that the government is aware of them, that and that they keep track of them or try to hunt them or recapture them, or so many things along these lines. Obviously, I can't say for sure if the government really is fully aware, or how aware they are of these creatures, or if they are behind it in some form or fashion. I don't know, but I thinking about it rationally, I would not be surprised if there are some government officials that are aware of some of these things. How aware, I don't know. I can't say for sure about that, but I would not be surprised if they were like, okay, there's they are aware, because I've heard some stories of them arriving after a certain cryptid encounter or corpse or something along those lines. I mean, we also have this whole thing with the Men in Black appearing in Point Pleasant, asking questions about Mothman. That's even like long before we started doing the whole like modern conspiracy theories, with the government and everything. And so I don't know. Maybe there are some parts of the government that is aware, but obviously, obviously they can't really say like, oh yeah, we're the government. We're just keep an eye on things. Like no, they obviously, people would never fully explain that. But the fact that there were Men in Black people in Point Pleasant after when these original sightings happened, adds a little bit of backbone to it, of there being a lot more to that than meets the eye. I believe that Mothman is a bit more a physical creature than spiritual, but who knows? People have had very weird encounters with something in around Point Pleasant, especially around the TNT area. Now, could they also just be normally haunted? Sure, that's definitely possible. Do they have any connection with Mothman? Hard to say. I don't think we'll really. Just another one of those things I will add to the list of things we will probably never know, which kind of stinks. But I mean, I'm more of like I enjoy more of like the spirit, the physical side of stuff, and I don't really pay attention too much to the ghost stuff, because there's a lot of ghost stuff, and it's like, okay, moving chair, moving bed. Some of the ghost stuff is interesting, but most of it's just like, I'm good. Just show me a Bigfoot or something like that. That's what I want to see, kind of thing. What else? Have we gone everything here? This bridge collapse, over bridge. Yeah, let's see. I think that's. Let's see. Do I have any more? Do I have any final thoughts about Mothman? It's definitely. I'd probably want to consider probably one of the biggest cryptids in North America. A lot of different stuff I've always seen of people, like here's a cryptozoology shirt and stuff like that, and Mothman always seems to be on it. I've got a few. I actually got a few Mothman shirts surprisingly not, from Hot Topic. At one point, they had a bunch of Mothman stuff. I'm like, huh, that's weird. I even have a little Mothman little case for my AirPods, which is very cool. And unfortunately, the first time I saw it, I didn't buy it. And I never saw him again for like months or years. And then all of a sudden, just randomly in a hot topic, there they were, and it's one of my favorite little things. So Mothman is definitely a very, very popular cryptid. I'm honestly gonna say probably one of the top five, like either most popular cryptids in North America, just because on how much different movies and books and TV shows and merchandise and everything of the creature. Obviously, is nowhere near compared to Bigfoot, but its popularity definitely does stand for sure, and it's going to be very interesting. It's a very interesting topic, and I know maybe someday we will get something good out of it, and we'll get some answers. Probably not. We will probably not get answers from that, like so many other cryptids, and we'll just be like, oh well, that's all. Maybe next time. But that's the fun of it and everything like that. Um. Okay, we talked about that. The bridge, obviously, that being one of the most important things, and I think that's it. I don't really think I have anything else that I can really say to try to drag this thing out for another like 9-10 minutes. Because at the moment right now we're at 51 minutes, and that's pretty. I'm pretty happy with that. I was a little worried at first, but I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't that were written down, or there's stuff that was not written down that I was talking about, because I just remembered, thankfully, in the midst of the conversation and everything. But yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed this one. It's Mothman is another. I was waiting till I decided to do Mothman, because I was thinking about doing Mothman after Dogman, but then I'm like, I don't want to do like Dogman, Mothman, Lizardman, man. Now I was trying not to do like a bunch of like the man cryptids back to back to back to back. Try to spread it out a little bit, but I'm thinking like, what? I think it's time. Let's talk about Mothman, and just have a fun time with it. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this one. Like always, if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you enjoy the show. And if this is your first time listening, or make sure you subscribe. Also, if you've listened before, but you're not really sure if you want to subscribe or not, subscribe anyways. Comments, likes, views, subscribes help me out a lot, because I have no intention of making this YouTube channel, doing this podcast, anything bigger than it is. I'm just doing this for fun, and my goal by the end of the year is to reach 100 subscribers. I think right now, last time I checked, we're at 17. So, hey, keep it up, everyone. Everyone who has subscribed, I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And make sure you tell someone else to come along. And of course, I also got the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptidtalk. I also have an email, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. If you've seen something, know someone, or have evidence you'd like to share, please send it to me. I would love to be your outlet, your person that you talk to, because there's a lot of stories of people who have seen something and they have no idea what it is, and they need help. Let me help you. I want to be the guy that helps you out, and make some sort of clarity, or give you an idea of maybe what you saw. Because I know there's some things that people have seen that I actually have not gone to in topic wise, and maybe when that time comes, something will spark in you to mess something. Because I'm hoping that if we get enough people who send stuff in, I like to do some like special episodes of reading people's stories and stuff like that and everything. So email me. If you want me to call me by or tell me whatever you want to be called by. Your real name could be John, but when you email me, you're like, my name's Tim. I'll be like, hi Tim. Like, I won't know. I'll just go like, or if you want to keep your name private, just please let me know. I would really want to hear these stories. Unfortunately, haven't got anything yet, but I'm hoping that in sometime soon, sometime in the near future, I will. Hopefully after the festival, the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot Paranormal Festival in Ellisburg. Someone sent me a little pronunciation of it. It's gonna take me too long to get there. But Ellisburg, Pennsylvania, August 3rd. Yeah, just a little over a week. Unfortunately, at the moment, it seems like there might be some rain, but we found out that the festival is going to be happening rain or shine. And the festival starts at 9, so on Saturday, August 3rd. So if you are able to, and it's not that bad, or if it is, come on by. I'll let them meet people, and hopefully, I got business cards, so I'm ready to talk to people. I want to meet some people, and and anything like that. I'll have merchandise and everything. So come on by, and have a fun time at the festival. I'd love to meet people there. So I think that will be it for today. I hope everyone enjoyed. Uh, all the normal stuff, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Uh, let your neighbor know. Tell your neighbor about the show, or a neighbor or coworker. Let someone new about the show today, and tell them to follow it, because any sort of follow I can get would be greatly appreciated. And remember, keep your eyes and ears open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Mike Madden. Have a good day, everyone.